Review of the payroll revealed employee costs totaling 3,515,184,562 shillings, resulting in an unexplained variance of 14,503,520. Monthly payroll reconciliations against payroll by products to validate the amounts and the number of staff paid were not carried out in the Human Resource Information System. In the circumstance, the accuracy and completeness of the employee costs amounting to 3.5 billion could not be confirmed. Thank you, Chair.
Governor, what's your response?
Thank you, Chair. Honorable Chair, the amounts reported in the Statement of Financial Performance has now been justified by reconciliation of payroll data and payments made as per the notes to the financial statement. A reconciliation of payroll data and the schedule has been carried out and has been filed for audit verification, and this is annexed as Annex 221, that is payroll, ledgers, and reconciliation.
Auditor General, you've looked at that Annex 2.1. As you said, we are not doing the audit today. We are just doing verification.
Yes, Chair.
What is your opinion?
Chair, we've looked at it, and the management didn't amend the financial statements because they could not, so as to address the variance raised.
So what is the true cost?
And there were no monthly payroll reconciliations against payroll by products available for verification. So it's still an ongoing work.
What is the true employee cost? You've reported 3.500, but your payroll indicates 3.515. What is the true cost?
Chair, let me request my CC Finance to respond to that.
Thank you, Chair. The true cost of the employee payments is 3.500,681,041 and 54 cents.
But your payroll indicates 3.515. The payroll should be the source of truth.
That is the reconciled figure. It is 3.500.
How did you go back to reconcile the payroll?
We have the annexes, the schedules.
Auditor General, can you help us understand how that works? Because I believe that the payroll is the primary source of data, which should not be altered. You can alter the financials, but not the payroll. Auditor General, what's the assurance here?
Honorable Chair, what you are saying is the truth. That is the true position. The payroll, the compensation of employees can only be derived from the payroll. And in this case, the payrolls for the period that is under review, July 1st, 2024 to 30th June 2025, clearly indicated, and we broke down the figures to the management of the county, 3,515,000,000.
So
we still
see what other magic is this? You know, Sifuna will start telling you about the numbers that come from polling stations and the numbers that arrive at Bomas.
Chair, let me allow
the polling station numbers is what must apply, and the polling station in this case is a payroll. The numbers can't change at the financial statement. Senator Chirake, as they...
Maybe, Governor, where is, you say, you insist that your payroll is 3.5 billion, but after the audit was 3.515184562. Are there people that are paid outside the IPPD, maybe through Impress, that is not on the payroll? Number one. Number two, on this variance, because 3.5 and 3.50 and 3.515, the variance of 14.5 million that has been indicated by the OAG, does it point, or let me just ask a basic question. how many employees do you have in your payroll? And I've seen, maybe Chair will go to that, I've seen it's 48% of the wage bill. How many are in the payroll, the employees? And then explain that clarity, whether there are people who are paid outside the IPPD, maybe through impressed, or what is this variance is bringing about. I yield back.
Senator Wambua?
Chair, maybe if this can be made clearer to the committee, are we talking about the same payroll here? Did the Office of the Auditor General review the same document that you reviewed, Governor? Or perhaps you looked at a different document? Because, Chair, I mean, if we are looking at the same document, I don't see how they arrive at two different figures. I mean, unless there are two payrolls, how do you look at one document, get 3,500,000,000, and then another person looking at the same document gets 3,515,000,000? Do we have two payrolls in Bomet?
Governor? There are the questions asked by Senator Cherargei and Senator Wambua, but what we must agree on is what number? What is our working number?
Now I have my CEO Finance and CEO Public Service. They're able to clarify on the numbers. Yeah.
Thank you, Chair. The reconciled figure is 3.5. That is the true figure. If you check next 2.1. 2.1 in our annexures. There is a reconciliation provided to yes, to correct the
So, Chief Officer, tell us how you reconcile a payroll. If in the payroll you spend 3.515, how do you reconcile it? Does it mean that some employees refund the 15 million in question?
Chair, we have provided the payroll product that indicates 3.290. In addition, we have supported with the ledgers that also indicates the salary arrears that was paid. If you look at the annexure number 2.1, there were also accrued deductions. That is the reconciliation. That makes now the 3.5.
Why wasn't this done when the auditor was looking at these books? Because I've made it clear we are not doing the audit today. The audit is already done. Why wasn't this reconciliation done at that point in time? What is this new information that you received after the audit?
Chair, we have noted inaccuracy, and this can only be corrected on this reconciliation in the next subsequent reporting.
No, it's not about the next period, because you are insisting that the 3.500 in the financial statement is correct. So there's nothing to correct in the financial statement. Are we, Meshach, what is there for them to correct in the financial statements if they insist that it was 3.500?
They've not yet satisfied us in explaining how it was 3.500 and not 3.515, because even if there were those arrears in the previous financial year, they were using cash basis of accounting. So even if there were arrears within the financial year, it would still feature within this as a cost for this particular year.
So, Professor, on a scale of 1 to 10, you have been a teacher. How many marks would you give your finance team on this?
Around 7.
Thank God I was not your student. Thank God I was not your student, because you'll have half-baked graduates You can't give them 7 on this. Can't exceed 2. In fact, it's 0. It's actually 0 out of 10. Now, let's look at another one where there's an inaccuracy. I know you have not addressed the questions raised by Senator Chirarke.
Before we leave that,
Senator Dula?
now that according to the county, they are actually rejecting the position of OAG, that the figure is 3.500. And the auditors are saying the figures according to their finding is 3.515. Can we say that OAG, we cannot account for this variance? Because we have to look at that also, even if it means that their payroll is 3.500. Can we say there is a loss or an accountability of 14.5?
Well, we just saw it as an attempt to understate the costs, the employee costs, because the amount was actually part of the payroll. The amount was actually part of the payroll, and we've not been told specifically that there was an error in this particular amount and it was refunded. You see, if that was the case...
You are not answering my question. Is there any loss as far as these issues are concerned? Because they are not agreeing with your query. Yeah? So what is the position of the 14.5 million that is in the query?
We don't see a loss in it, Chair.
Well, but if numbers cannot be reconciled, then you cannot make that conclusion. I think it is upon us to, as Senate, to make a conclusion and a recommendation. Patrick?
Chairman, please allow me to say that the reconciliation that was expected by the auditor will have been one that reconciles the figure of 3.5 million and the 3.500681 by the entity, not the one that is trying to justify the figure that is shown in the financial statement. So in this case, then, the response by the client does not answer the question. Because the 14.5 million that is asked by the Honorable Senator brings into doubt how the entity has accounted for the amount. Exactly. We are not able really to determine who was paid this amount of money. Yes, it's there in the payroll, but if they are trying to account for 3.500681, then who was paid the 14.5 million? I think that's the reconciliation that ought to have come into this explanation.
Chair, what the entity is trying to do, and I am not here to cast aspersions on the OAG, but I have my own issues with that. But Chair, what the entity is trying to do, they are setting their own question and answering, giving their own answer. The query.
No wonder they're giving themselves
7%.
Crazy marks.
Yes.
Because it's.
I mean, really, because the query is a variance of 14 million Kenya shillings. But instead of dealing with that variance, they are going back to their figure and trying to justify it. It doesn't work like that, Chair. I know that people have challenges with mathematics, but this is a simple one.
I heard the OAG at some point that says, although I didn't get it right, Meshach, that the entity amended the financial statement, because when you look at note number 10 on employees' costs, it was 3.5 billion Kenya shillings. And then now, during the audit, you found 3.515. This variance of 14.5 million, where does it arise? Because I've looked at the next year's chair, looking at payroll of 3.2 billion, salary arrears of 63 million, accrued deductions of 31.3 million, gratuity of 59.6 million, wages for temporary employees 119.08 million. Cumulatively, it comes to 3.5 billion. Governor, without casting aspersions, could there, and I want to repeat my question, could there be people that are paid through Impress or outside the IPPD, or people who are ghost workers Could this point to a problem of ghost workers? Are there ghost workers that are taking more than 14.5 million, these variants? Because if it is somewhere in your books, it looks like there are people who are busy fixing things that can only be seen during the audit. And maybe finally, Chair Governor, during the management letter, were these issues flagged? Because you have indicated you are in the exit, entry, and management meeting during the year under review. Was this captured in your management letter by the OAG? Chair, those will be my two questions.
Governor?
Thank you, Chair. And maybe starting with Senator Cherargei, all these issues were captured. And I want to agree with Senator Wambua that we have not done very well in terms of our response, because we should have actually narrowed down to the 14 million variants and explain how they occurred. So, Chair, I want to request maybe be given time, let me narrow down to this 14 million and explain, including what Senator Cherargei has asked, whether there are people who are paid outside the IBBT system.
Unfortunately, we don't have that time. If makosa imefanyika, we are going to make our recommendations, and very, very heavy recommendations. Now, let's before we close this, so that we tie all the financial reporting issues together, just look at the next issue: inaccuracy of transfers to other government entities. 52, you are indicating that you sent 52.5 million to the bursary fund, but the bursary fund received 65 million. Isn't that the case, Auditor General?
That's the case, Chair.
So how does that happen, Governor?
Honorable Chair, the observation on the transfers to Bomet County Bursary Fund has been noted by the management. The observation noted resulted from recognition of receivable in the Bomet Bursary Fund financial year statement of Kenya shillings 12,500,000 by the end of the financial year. The transfer were paid after the close of the reporting period, and since they were from non-exchange transactions, the amount could not be recognized as payable in the county executive financial statements. Further, the expenditure returns from the health facilities have been availed for audit verification. Copies have been attached as Annex 2.2.
Auditor General, they are explaining that it's a timing difference. Does that make sense?
Chair, it doesn't make sense. Supporting documents have not been provided for this.
Governor, what is Annex 2.2 supposed to explain? Because I see you're referring to Annex 2.2, which relates to health facilities. Okay, so there are two legs to, sorry, let's first deal with the bursary. Where's the evidence to support your explanation on the transfer to the bursary fund?
Let me request my CC Education and CEO to respond to that.
You see, it does not require very long explanation. You have already stated here that it was timing differences, so we just want to see that evidence.
Okay, thank you, Honorable Chair. The variance whereby we have 12.5 million that was paid. We are sorry that we have not attached the annexes, but it was paid when the financial year had been closed, and that is why it could not be reflected on that statement. So otherwise, we have not attached the annex, but the annex is there.
So
yes,
if the two funds are both on accrual basis, if you're saying that the transfer was made after the year had been closed, why would it then be received by the other fund in that financial year? Shouldn't it then have waited for the proper year for it to be accounted for?
Okay, it was actually the budgeted amount because it was supposed to be actually given out for the students. This is whereby it is reflecting that was being paid for the term 3, whereby already the financial year had been closed.
Auditor, please guide me if I'm wrong. Because if they are saying the money was sent when the financial year closed, so that's why it's not in the executive as an outward transfer, why then would it be reflected in the fund for that year?
If the money had been budgeted to be submitted during the financial year under the accruals basis of financial reporting, the amount should have featured with the financial statements, but the actual cash transfer would be done later, as she's saying. But the accrual of it, that a decision had been passed that this amount be transferred, would have been part of the financial statements.
So let's speak English, guys. Let's speak English. And let's not confuse the people of Bomet with accounting speak. What leaves the executive is expected to be what is received in the other fund. And if it is not, there needs to be an explanation that makes sense. Senator Wabua.
Yeah, you know, Chair, I'm of you saying we speak English, and let me try. So there is a variance here again, right? What you have dispatched is not exactly what is received at the other end. And then your response, you refer us to Annex 2.2, right? That's your response. I mean, these are your documents. Right? So we go to 2.2, and what we find there are health facilities returns. There is nothing on bursary or anything. So what are we supposed to do? Listen to stories? Or what? Try to make sense out of this?
Chair, there were two parts of that. Annex 2.2 is for health because there are two queries within one.
Yeah, so
one on bursary
where
and
is the
health.
annex that
And
deals
that's
with
the one
the
for bursary I have noted is missing. Chair, that one is missing from this annex, Chair.
Because we are doing this exercise not to sanitize anything. We are not, these issues, they remain as reported by the Auditor General. But we must demonstrate to you the kind of problems that you're walking around with in terms of financial management. Actually, now this is financial mismanagement, not financial management. Honorable members, even if we go to trade, let's go to pending bills. Let's test pending bills. Inadequate disclosure of trade and other payables. Auditor, what was your observation?
Thank you, Chair. Paragraph 6, inadequate disclosure of trade and other payables. The statement of financial position reflects trade and other payables totaling 1,538,084,971 shillings. The amount includes trade payables totaling 1,196,952,551 shillings, as disclosed in Note 16 of the financial statements. However, the aging analysis of the payables was not provided or disclosed in the financial statements, contrary to the requirements of the prescribed financial reporting template. In the circumstance, the presentation of the trade and other payables totaling 1.1 billion have not been prepared as per the template prescribed by the Public Sector Accounting Standards Board. Thank you, Chair.
Governor.
Thank you, Chair. Honorable Chair, the anomaly has been noted by the management and the necessary aging analysis of the payables has been prepared and provided for the verification attached as Annex 2.4. I have further directed the officers to provide a detailed disclosure on trade payables in the current financial year 2025-2026 under comparative period as guided by the Public Sector Accounting Standards Board.
Auditor General. Auditor General, give us your...
Chair, the management provided aging analysis of the trade payables for audit verification, but the disclosures in the financial statements were not made.
Now, I'm trying to look for Annex 2.4. Members, you have seen the Annex 2.4? I'm seeing 2.3. Senator Chirati, have you seen that Annex 2.4?
Yeah, it is different because when you look at the original certificate of the OAG, the aging analysis is negative. It's not indicated. But on this one, aging analysis is provided.
So what is these employee payables of 341 million?
CC,